And welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back here to the channel, guys, and welcome here today to a slightly different video with a slightly different vibe, because what we're going to be doing is basically having a discussion. That is what today is about. I had a bit of a gap really in my plans. Obviously tomorrow we're going to start talking about that Rio game, a lot of Champions League action this week, so what I thought I would do is do a video here today just discussing what that Lyon game means, because looking at what's happened this week, the way that things have all panned out in our favour, that Lyon game is massive. It is absolutely crucial for our season, and in this video today we're just going to be discussing why that game's got bigger and bigger and bigger, why it has now even more importance than before, everything that's happened this week in what has been a brilliant week to be a Barcelona fan. And I just want to start by going over that week in a bit more detail, and it has been a phenomenal week. I'm sure if you're in school, you're in a job or whatever, and you've got friends that are Real Madrid fans or maybe PSG fans, it has been a fantastic week, because when these kind of results happen, you can go into work, you can go into school, and you can be loud, you can be proud, because we're still in the Champions League. We're not in action until next week, so at least we have a good week here of bragging, of mocking. We know that we can do this, and that's why it's so important going into that Lyon game that we back up what we've been saying, because we've been saying, look, we are ready, we can get through, we're not like Real, we're not like PSG, and you look at our week, 2 Clasico wins, massive of course in the grand scheme of things, getting us back to form, especially when you consider we've knocked Real Madrid there effectively out of 2 competitions. We ended their hopes in the Copa del Rey, and when you look at their title hopes right now, they are in tatters, and of course then, a few days after that, watching them capitulate, really implode against Ajax, and it was also fantastic to watch Ajax in action, that kind of performance. We spoke about that in the review to that game. It was a brilliant spectacle. And also, of course, just sitting back and watching Frenkie de Jong, a player that we've signed, a player that really does look now like incredible business, and just watching de Jong in action, playing like that against Real Madrid at that kind of level, and then thinking to next season, he's going to be in our midfield, he's going to be alongside Arthur Melo, he's going to be learning from Busquets. That is so exciting for me, and that just added to our brilliant week. You've got yesterday, of course, you look at it, PSG going out to the Champions League in the way they did. Again, they were leading against United, very comfortable, going to the home game, and again, they let it slip. Consistently, time after time, PSG, in these kind of scenarios, in these kind of situations, they can't see the job through. They can't quite get the job done, and certainly last night, it really, really cost them. They're out in the last 16, and you look at the amount of money they've spent on the likes of Mbappe, the likes of Neymar. They felt as though they had everything coming together, and you saw last night, that's not the case. You can't buy your way to a Champions League title. Yes, you can use that money to help build something special, but you also have to have a group of players, a core there at the club that have a firm belief, a firm philosophy, and PSG have just gone from big player to big name, big money, and they've expected that to result in a Champions League title. It hasn't done that, and that's why we're all pretty happy they're out. It's not an irrational hatred of PSG, I just don't really like what their club represents. Their fans, of course, are very, very loud and proud when they beat us 4-0 at Parc des Princes, only of course once again for that to be turned around. And you look at Neymar there on the sidelines yesterday, you look at his face, you look at the way that it just dropped when he saw that penalty, when he saw it go in, when he realised really that PSG were going out of the Champions League. Obviously he had no part in either leg, he was injured, but at the end of the day, what has he done this for? What has he got himself in this kind of position for? Why did he trade the life that he had at Barcelona alongside Messi, who he idolised, alongside Luis Suarez, who is a really good friend on and off the pitch, and just the general feeling that he had at Barcelona, everything that he had there coming together, and he traded it all away. He sold his soul to go and join PSG, and for what? To go out in the round of 16 stage? It's a really sad situation for Neymar, but you have to say, one all of his own making. And then of course, when you're just thinking in the Champions League yesterday, how can things get any better for us? You turn over to the other game, Porto against AS Roma, that went to extra time, and again, another big result going in our favour. The team, of course, last season, who emphatically knocked us out, Roma, they got knocked out to Porto in extra time, penalty gets given, Alex Telles puts it away, and Porto are into the quarterfinals, which is a massive, massive step for them. And AS Roma, a bad season they've been having, and they're not in the competition anymore. They can't knock us out this season. I kind of would have liked to have played them just to get some revenge, but at the end of the day, you look at it like this. As of right now, Real Madrid are out. PSG are out. Roma are out. Juventus 2-0 down to Atletico Madrid. That game is going to be coming next week. Liverpool or Bayern are going to go out. One of those two. It's a massive chance. Suddenly, this is opening up all in our own favour. It's a massive opportunity, but there is just a tiny, tiny concern in my mind that we're still going to take this Lyon side a little bit lightly. We're not really going to fully focus and address what we have to do in this game because it's Lyon. They're not a super club. They're not a member of the elite in Europe, but at the same time, they still pose a threat, and especially at 0-0. Right now, the game is in the balance. They're coming to the Camp Nou. They know that if they get a goal, suddenly we need two. That away goals rule is going to come into play, and you've got to look as well at what the away teams have done in the Champions League right throughout this week so far. Ajax going to Real Madrid, firm, brave, bold, and getting the result that they really, really wanted. Tottenham went to Dortmund, beat them away from home. They beat them at home as well. They destroyed Dortmund over the two legs. Then you look at last night, Man United going to Ajax there with all of that bravery and that belief really that they could turn it around. Lyon are going to the Camp Nou drawing. They're not actually losing this game. They're going here on a level playing field with a chance to get through. And you have to say, you look at it last night with Man United, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually said that watching Ajax's performance, watching the way they came back against Real, that gave him and his side a lot of belief, a lot of hope. And you can guarantee that Lyon will have been watching these games thinking, why not us? Why can't we make that happen as well at the Camp Nou? And I'll tell you why. It's because we are not going to let that happen. Our players, our coach, our fans at the Camp Nou on Wednesday evening, we must not let that happen. This is our opportunity. The Champions League is opening up. It's opening up its heart to us. We have to go there against Lyon at our own stadium, get the result we need. Put every single bit of focus. This now turns out to be the biggest game of our season. This right here and right now is a game that we simply have to get through. Because you look at it like this. Yes, we're top of the league. We're doing extremely well in La Liga. We're in the Copa del Rey final. But this just has shades, doesn't it, of last season. If we got knocked out against Lyon in the round of 16 stage, suddenly that's the season done. I don't care what you say about the league, and I don't care what you say about the Copa del Rey. Yes, we'll love winning them. But if you get knocked out against Lyon, that ruins everything. That completely tarnishes our season yet again. Just like it happened against Roma last season. We can't let that happen again. And that's why it is the biggest game of the season, because our season rests on that result. If we win, we're on to the quarterfinals. This is a massive chance, and suddenly the belief, the momentum, it's growing. If we lose, season done. Dusted. We have to go into this game with as much focus, as much intensity, as much concentration that we have shown in any game so far this season. The only result for us is getting through, and of course, we have the ability, we have the quality, we have the players to get through this one, and I really do believe we're going to make it happen. But also, guys, just before we do end this video here today, I want to talk to you about VAR, and I want to talk to you really and get your opinions and gauge really what the response is to the video assistant referee in the Champions League. Of course, it's come into play now in the knockout stages, and clearly last night, and against Real Madrid and Ajax as well, there were big decisions made by VAR. You look at it last night, there was a penalty in either game which was absolutely decisive to that particular time. If you look at, first of all, the Man United one, of course, the penalty that got given in the dying moments against PSG, they needed a goal to go through, and to be honest, they didn't really look like getting it. Paris Saint-Germain had big chances to score, and Mbappe had a massive chance at 2-1, which would have ended the tie, sent PSG through, and of course on the night it was individual mistakes. Kehrer made a big mistake for the first goal, the second goal for United, it's a big mistake, and from experienced man, of course, in Gianluigi Buffon. But of course the penalty, it comes, it's Dalot with a shot on the edge of the box, and it's a real hopeful drive. It's never going in, it's nowhere near the goal, but it hits Kimpembe on his arm. Now, of course, until you look at the VAR, you don't really realise how serious that is if it did hit his arm. And you can see then, he jumps up, he turns his back, and he does connect with his arm. Is his arm raised in an unnatural position? Not really. That's kind of the angle there that your arm goes at when you jump in the air. You can't really control your arms, because a lot of people think, just keep them by your side. But when you're trying to jump in the air, when you're trying to get that leverage, it's very difficult to do that. And of course, the problem that we have at that moment with with VAR is these slow motion replays. And the reason for that is football is not played in slow motion. So when the referee there goes over to his TV screen and he watches that handball and they slow it down, and almost they're dictating there how that has happened by slowing it down, looking at the different angles, and you're almost dictating there what actually happened as opposed to how it played out in real life. Because in real life, Dalot there takes on a pretty meaningless shot. It's not going in. It's going nowhere near the goal. Kimpembe jumps up and it does hit him on the arm. Does it really take that away from going in? Absolutely not. But at the same time, when you slow that down, when you look at it in the slow motion, it looks there. Clear handball. Clear Stonewall penalty handball. And that's the problem right now. VAR, I feel, has to really show the referee what they may have missed, but they can't really alter how it happened. They can't really slow it down. And you look at the game Real Madrid and Ajax, and you look at that ball there going out to play. A lot of Real Madrid fans saying that the ball went out to play in the lead up to Ajax's third goal. But also there, VAR didn't even have the right angles. A computer system here that's supposed to help out the referees and the assistants, and they didn't have that depth. They didn't have that angle there that showed whether the ball was actually over the line. They had one from next to the ball, which sort of showed that it might be out, but what you needed there was a clear view from above the ball, from a bird's eye view there, to see clearly whether the ball was overhanging the line or whether there was a clear margin between the ball and the line, and therefore it was out. And VAR couldn't provide that angle. And I think right now, we're still finding the real balance with VAR. Certainly, it has its advantages, and certainly it'll make the right decisions, but at the same time, right now, there are still mistakes. It's not perfect. It was brought in to be the answer, the be-all, end-all. It's going to help referees. It's going to eliminate every mistake. That isn't the case. That certainly isn't the case. There's just as much debate now as there was before. You look at it, PSG are saying that wasn't a penalty. Man United fans are saying that is a penalty. And that's football, really. That's why I think in some ways VAR is a good thing, but at the same time, it doesn't eliminate mistakes. It doesn't eliminate that debate that you have in football. It's such a fast-flowing game. It's such a free-flowing game. And I think, really, it's very difficult to actually manage that, VAR or not. You just got to let things pan out. You just got to let things go with the flow. The referees are out there to make cutting calls. They've got assistants. You've got to do what you can. And those replays, you can't just slow them down. You can't alter the angles. You can't alter the speed. You've got to play it at real time. You've got to see how it pans out. And you have to get those angles right. You've got to have a lot more at your disposal. And I think, really, VAR has a long way to go. And so that's basically what today's video was, guys. A bit different, like I say. It was more of a chilled out video today. Just some things, really, that I wanted to share with you, wanted to discuss with you. And of course, I really like to see what you say in the comments down below with regard to this, with regard to that Lyon game. How do you feel? How are you feeling now going into that game? What kind of importance does it have on our entire season? And what have you made of the Champions League? What did you make of those big VAR decisions? And what did you make of Paris Saint-Germain's exit, Real Madrid's exit, and also Roma's exit as well? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. And like I say, tomorrow, the preview for that Rayo Vallecano game will be up, and I'll see you then. But until then, as always, Visca El Barça.